Hello and welcome to another Motivate Me Monday. I'm Cindy Fox and I am a faith ambassador and spiritual wellness coach. And I help people find their purpose and create abundance, clarity, and a new perspective for living their best life now. And I'm here today to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And that is to talk about an addiction, loving someone with an addiction. If you have somebody in your life, in your family that has an addiction, it's such a difficult thing and can create such chaos and exhaustion and irrationality in the whole family unit. We parents have to learn unconventional parenting techniques for our loved ones who are suffering with addiction. And it's a very difficult thing, especially in the beginning, because as parents, we feel like a lot of times we feel like we're the ones that helped kind of create that chaos for them in their minds. And really, that's what addiction is the chaos that comes in our minds, right? So I like to think of it as imagine parking your car on the side of a street. In front of your house, and then you walk across the lawn to the front door, and you go back and forth and back and forth. And over time, you've created a path in the grass that's leading back and forth to your car. It's the same thing with our minds. When we go in and we're thinking about things in our neurons, you've heard the saying, what fires together wires together. What's the same thing with our thinking? When we're thinking bad patterns and bad thoughts all the time, those wires begin to really resonate and form a very solid and routinely cycle and synopsis inside of our body. And we are like stuck in a pattern of behaving and thinking in those patterns. Most of us do it to some degree or another, but an addict really has that point where they just cannot break from that cycle until you hear what they call hitting rock bottom. Okay. And typically what that is for an addict is a point where they don't want to live like this. Most addicts don't want to be an addict. They didn't sign up to be an addict. They don't want it in their lives. And they have, they get to a point where they like, I don't know how to kick it. I don't know how to do anything else. They've exhausted every single thing they know how to do in order to be able to change the patterns in themselves. What they're not understanding is the science that they have to stop. They have to start with the thinking patterns that we have. So we all have to start with that. Our thinking patterns. And it's a very difficult thing to do because it does take time to get new pathways paved on our road, to recovering in our minds. And so I can tell you that I became addicted to fixing my daughter for a period of time. There was a while where I was so addicted to that. I just thought, if I'm the one who caused this and I had to fix it, because if I didn't fix it, she was going to die. And that was so scary to me. And I frantically was spinning my wheels. But the more I was in that thought and that thinking and that pattern, that disrupting pattern in my own mind, the more it was just causing me fear. And every time that we would have an interaction, it would end up becoming a screaming and yelling match. And I became just as irrational as she was on drugs. And it was not a cycle that was working well for us. I had to change the way that I was thinking. You see, I had thought all my life that as a single mom raising this girl, and all the mistakes that I made over time, and there were many, that was the reason that my daughter had to turn to drugs. And I blamed myself for so long. I kept blaming myself that I was the reason that she turned to drugs. Later in life, when we had been able to talk about it, she assured me that nothing that I did took her down her path. Nothing that I did wrong, and there were plenty, was what took her down her path. She was already on that path, and she kind of knew it inside, and that's what she kind of admitted. And it was really, really eye-opening to me, because the three C's that we talk about in addiction, I didn't cause it, I can't cure it and I can't control it. Those things became real for me. I didn't cause it, I can't cure it, and I can't control it. I really totally understood. And so, what that made me understand is that I had to change my own stinking thinking, that I was the one that caused it. And so, I started having to change and rewire those patterns of thought in my mind in order to quit my addiction of fixing her. Once I was able to do that, things became better for us. Our communication became better. The way I liken it to is that I became the biggest fan, the biggest cheerleader of her life. I knew I could no longer control or fix anything for her. All I could do is just pray for her and praise her when things were well, and I could be sad with her when things are not well. I could cry with her when she needed me to cry with her, but I didn't have to stop and jump in and fix all of her problems. Once I took that stance, the problems that she would run into truly became the rightful owner of her problems. And it gave her the ability to figure out how to fix her problems. And it was no longer on my plate to fix. And so that changed the dynamics completely of our relationship. And today we have that of a very loving relationship. We're not completely out of the woods, but we are way further along than we ever used to be. And with that, I'm so, so excited and so happy to see her getting in a better place each and every single day. And this can be done for all of us. We just have to learn unconventional ways of parenting our children. And we really have to remember we didn't cause it, okay? If our child has an addiction to a substance and they're destroying their lives, it's because of a miswiring and misfiring in their own brains and a perception of reality that they picked up somewhere along the way, and they will figure it out. Our addicts don't want to be in this state. This is not the life they want to live. And so when we can be their biggest cheerleader and fans for helping them or showing them and leading by example for them, that's the best thing that we can do. Just remember, folks, it's not your fault. So I hope that encourages you to go out to detach, but with love, with all of those in your life that you have to love in an unconventional way. Thank you, and until next time, keep coming back and making peace a practice in your life.